when we think of lines, what kind of lines can we come up with? We can come up with vertical line. There's horizontal line. There is diagonal lines. And then there's curved lines. Now there is a multitude of variations, not so much from vertical and horizontal. You have a vertical, and that's it. It's a degree, it's a 90 degree, this one's a 0 degree. The diagonals, we have 360 of them. So diagonals could be in, you name it. And we'll do an exercise that will show you that. And also with the curves, the type of curvature. All the variations of line pretty much go back to here. The simplest form of creating it. The fundamental direction of that line. So the first exercise I want you to look at today is going to be here in this part of the paper. I'm going to ask you to take your sheet of paper and I'm going to divide it into 4. So I'm making a mark here just to keep that separate. And I'm going to divide this with a vertical line right through the middle. And then take this square and kind of guess where the middle is and do a horizontal line right through the middle. When you're ready, I'm going to ask you to refer back to our lines. And when you think about it, drawing, what is it? What is drawing? Drawing is putting marks on a surface, not even on paper. Drawing, you could draw on sand with a stick. You could draw on the street with a chalk. Ooh, look at that drawing. I'm looking at Angie's screen. I just saw some really cool pencil marks. Can I see them again? Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's a dark, what was that, a 4B, 6B? I love it. Very nice. Well done. Look at that. Okay, so that's exactly what we're doing. We're just putting, in this case, pencil marks on paper. There is nothing more to it. The quality of those pencil marks and the little bit of extra thought we bring into it, like which pencil should I do it with? What grip? What pressure? And in this case, what direction? So for this first square, and I hope everybody's caught up here, we have 4 squares. I'm going to take the corner and I'm going to do one entire square of vertical lines from top to bottom. So I'm going to put my pencil right at the top of the square and I'm going to draw vertical line, and I'm going to try to fill up this square with top to bottom vertical lines. But here's the kicker. If you really want to challenge yourself, you want to make them as vertical as possible. Look at where you're anchoring maybe your elbow, your wrist, or none, your pinky here. How our tendency would be to, okay, I'm going to draw vertical lines. Well, then I'm just going to move my paper like this and put it at an angle. So you're actually drawing diagonals. What I want you to do is really just hold your paper straight in front of you and find that sense of posture and comfort for you to deliver the straightest, in this case, light pressure, but you can also play with it. You want to go from very light to darker lines. That's bringing it to a next level. But the one thing I really want you to focus here is how close can you put these lines to each other. So I go from this one, and then my next one, there we are. Right over here. Can I put it right? How close? As I focus on that, I realize, I have a sense of where it's supposed to start, and I also have a sense of where it's supposed to go. So I know I'm supposed to start here, and I know I'm supposed to end here. But all the way through, what else am I thinking about? I'm thinking about motion in my fingers. I'm thinking about the pressure of my grip on the pencil. I'm beginning to feel the friction of the graphite and the paper. I almost begin to feel the texture of my paper. And there's that word again, caressing the paper. So for those of you who like tickles, imagine the paper as skin and the pencil as someone's fingers. You know, there's very soft little caressing tickles, and then there's those really scratchy ones. You choose at what level we deliver these lines, and you kind of have that sense of really zoning out, where eventually you're not thinking about pretty much anything. It becomes automatic in some ways, just subconscious, unconscious. But you begin to deliver and discover new sensations in a way. The way it flows, the way your body, believe it or not, is breathing. Are you holding your breath? Hold your breath. And then what you want is everything to be flowy, relaxy, not tight and pressured, and you want it to just flow. Almost, you don't realize it, but when you start thinking it, oh my gosh, I am holding my breath. Or am I just exhaling through the line almost? And each one of us is going to figure out, find a way that, oh, this makes it feel and at the same time look better. The most important thing that begins to come out as well is your pace. So some of us begin to get a little, okay, this is not exciting enough. So we want to kind of do them faster. And you begin to just hasten your pace. So your lines can begin to just take a little bit, just a little bit of shape, let's call it, where there's a little more space between them. So managing all parts, but especially the pressure, the way you know where you're supposed to start, the way you know where you're supposed to end, and the pace. Now, one more thing I should bring up. I'm ready to sharpen my pencil again. And I'm just a little past halfway. But as I develop this, you want to make sure, oh, my lines are looking like I want them, but now they're getting a little thick. I'm using more the side. I lost the point. Then just go ahead, sharpen your pencil. If you want to test out, can I rearrange my posture, my elbow, my shoulder, my wrist, and still deliver that vertical line? And how well can I do that? This is the secret to everything else you do. It does not get any simpler than this. Well, maybe there's something simpler. But remember, it always goes down to these lines. Your vertical, horizontal, diagonals, and curves, a variation of them. So once you master this, nothing can stop you. Okay, so here's a little, if you haven't finished, that's fine. You can always revisit. I want you to put an arrow right at the top corner pointing to, okay, I started this square with lines that started right here, and then they went in this direction. So they went from top to bottom, and I was also going from left to right. Now, I could give you just one exercise, and you're going to have to do a lot of these on your own, because we could have a whole class on vertical lines, 2 hours, and we still would not have enough. What would be the variation? This time, I'm going to start from, just to give you a little, and this is what tests your capability of finding that right posture. We're going to start at the bottom and at the right. So we're going to work from the bottom to the top. Notice that. I want you to feel that first line. Still vertical, but now I'm going from bottom to top, and I'm going from right to left. So we need to adjust something, maybe. It is different than my top to bottom and my left to right. When I start going bottom to top and right to left, does it feel better? Does it feel easier? Does it feel a little constraining? Does it feel looser? Can somehow they be straighter? But for some reason I cannot put them closer to each other. So all these little things, these are the exercises that will have you developing unbelievable quality of line in your drawings. And it's really interesting trying to draw without really thinking for a second, what are the things that make my drawings better? Well, better lines, for one. Is that necessarily true? I believe, yeah, there's a big part of it. The quality of line expresses. I always bring this up. It's the way someone speaks. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. So if what you say is interesting, but you say it too loud or too long and draggy, it's not the same as if it's interesting, clear, and with a nice pitch and tone and volume. Same thing with your lines. So my lines just somehow got a little thicker. I'm holding the pencil still with that. There's the grip. And I'm finding myself moving a little more into my wanting to move, just stretching my wrist into the line. It's not rotating the wrist. It feels like it starts slow and it just stretches in an upward motion. But it's from the wrist with a little bit of finger, just a little bit of finger motion. This one here, kind of my thumb, putting that pressure on just to follow that line. But notice that my wrist here, it feels like instead of rotation, it's more of a stretch following that. So pay attention to some of these things. Eventually you will not be thinking about this. It becomes automatic. But the beautiful thing about this is when you need to draw, no matter what subject it is. Oh, we're drawing a horse. And oh, I need to draw this line that goes from almost vertical from bottom to top. And you find yourself stuck. This is the type of practice that allows you the freedom to deliver those types of lines. Now, there's a little bit of difference. Notice that from this square to this square. A little more space. So I could definitely tell this is more of my go-to quality of line and direction. With this exercise, we're going to find a line that we're going to feel, oh my gosh, I can't do this one. And that's the goal. We want to find that one and then figure it out to make it, aha, oh, there it is. Now I got it. And it could be one of the verticals. I really felt this one, and I could see how this could cause me a little pause when I'm drawing it. We're going to move to this bottom square here, and we're just going to do, again, you could do this exercise in a million ways. Top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, right to left, overlapping without space, going gradient from very light to darker line. All these variations that you can come up with, these are great practices. Here I'm going to move to a horizontal line. So I'm going to pick, let's see, for some of you, going this direction. This would be the typical. So I notice my elbow is already kind of leaning into my ribs. I feel like I want to turn the paper. So it's almost that diagonal line. No, I want to find, with the paper placed on my desk as is, without turning it or moving it, I want to hold my pencil. I want to reset my posture so I can deliver horizontal lines starting at the top, going from left to right. Now, we're not trying to do absolute perfection here. I want you to absolutely focus on your grip. Focus on the pressure of your grip. Then, from there, begin to focus on the movement in your fingers, wrist, elbow, shoulder. And just become aware of them. So these lines, notice that they're not perfectly horizontal. What would it take?
Can you show your whole hand again?
Sure. So this is...
I don't know if maybe it's just my screen or what. I'm just seeing it. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Right.
Yeah, I was actually going low. And I have a pencil extender because I really like to hold these way longer. It just gives you that even less pressure. The farther away you are from the tip, the less pressure you apply. So this is one of those great little tools. It's also when your pencil's getting really short, it extends the life of it. But yes, my motion right now is like this, and it's just pretty much from the shoulder. And my knuckle right here is kind of my anchor. So it's just softly holding the weight of my hand on the paper as I lay down the line like this. But there's hardly any movement on my finger or my wrist. It's mostly from my shoulder. And then I also notice what's happening with my elbow. It's finding somewhat of an angle. And I feel a little bit my bicep working, my muscle-wise. Kind of my bicep is involved here, holding the angle of my elbow and just allowing me to put that little pressure on the pencil. This kind of line. And I'm beginning to go a little bit faster so we get through a couple more exercises that I want you to do today. And this exercise, you could also time yourself. You could do one of these boxes in 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, and then push it all the way to 1 hour. Where if you finish this square in less than an hour, it means you're going too fast. So imagine the quality of those lines where it takes you, I don't know, 10 seconds to do one line. And now we're involving time in here. So all the things I mentioned, the thing about breath, how we manage our breath through some of these lines. Sometimes I notice it, and it happens in many, many things, especially in sports, where you hold your breath as you're supposed to be exhaling instead of contracting. Let's do one final one, and I'm going to move to diagonal. So the obvious version of this would be vertical, vertical, top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, right to left. So you could break a page into maybe 8 squares and do top to bottom and then top to bottom, but from this direction. So we started from left to right. We would go top to bottom from right to left. And you could see how that feels already different. We could go bottom to top, same thing, from right to left, left to right. And then there's variations to it, as I mentioned. So here we would continue doing horizontal lines from top to bottom, also from bottom to top. And you could do them from left to right or from right to left. So that would be where you would take this exercise. To finish it up, I'm going to go ahead and do diagonal. And I'm going to show you the one that I struggle with. So this diagonal for me, this one, top, it's 45 degree, kind of 35, 45 degree from top to bottom. This is my line. It has a name, the Luis line. That's it right there. I could easily just go right there and my line becomes that one. So the counter, the opposite of that line would be from top, going at an angle, top to bottom, from this corner to this corner. And I'm going to find myself, again, wanting to turn the paper, don't do it. Finding readjustment in my posture. Same grip. Notice that I already went from all the way back here to halfway, just for a little more control over that direction of the line. And here is where, notice my grip, my wrist starts opening up, trying to find that angle, and then the motion of the direction. So it's going to be something like this. Once again, I'm on this knuckle, kind of anchoring. And from the shoulder, I see kind of my arm moving into my rib cage a little here as I kind of do the motions. So you want to have a free elbow, free shoulder, full range of motion. So I'm taking a little sideways move, my body, to just set myself up, set my posture, and begin to do diagonal lines. And you want to make sure these have a nice spacing between them. I'll tell you what, in this square, I'm going to do something. I'm going to go halfway this way, right about here. And as the line gets longer, that's another variation of this exercise. So imagine instead of these little squares, if you could take a second, quick glance at the screen. Imagine if instead of these little squares here, I was doing it on a full page. So the size that you begin to work with, and you could take this even bigger. So now you're really working with just 100%. Your legs become involved because you have to be standing. And you're using the full range of motion of your arm. Now, I went this way. I'm going to go ahead and just put that marker. And I'm going to show you in this direction the difference. So I'm going to go from this line as my marker in this direction. And I want to show you that confidence that comes from, feeling really, and how fast you could do this. And I show you, because this is my line, I could really pace myself and deliver pretty straight lines. A little more gestural, but with so much confidence. And almost spacing them together where they could become this kind of drawing as we were doing earlier. And that's what it takes. Knowing your line, getting comfortable with your line, and really experiencing how it feels to draw those lines. Very important. We take it for granted sometimes. We don't even think about it. It's just a pencil marks on a paper. But all those little things that I can point out that you could eventually will discover. And sometimes when you find something that, that's too hard, you want to explore it more. So how would I practice this line that is causing me a little more, I'm not happy with it. I don't see it exactly like I want it. Well, then you figure out a way to plan and exercise it, make longer exercises, bigger pages, work with different pencils, see if one feels better, and just keep exploring that way.